like a is this like a scar on your head right here?
Me?
Me?
Yeah. No, Tim. He's got like a line on his head. Do you see what I'm saying?
You can see that?
That's a
Yeah.
wrinkle.
Is that a wrinkle or is it just like a scar?
No, it's a scar. It's like
It's
my
a scar,
only
right?
wrinkle.
Yeah, like you cut your
Wow,
head.
my phone is high def. Yeah, it's a cut when I was real quick story when I was living in Hawaii. I was like 7-ish, and in my neighborhood, we lived in the military housing. At the bottom of a really steep hill, there was the baseball pit where I used to play Little League, and the dugouts weren't like all chain link. They were kind of ghetto and old school. So there was just like one chain link, and then there was a little bar, like a metal bar that was like about a foot off the ground that just went behind the dugout, so it wasn't like a back to it. And there was an old cement, literally cement concrete cylinder that was a water fountain that like weeds and stuff grew out of the middle. It was like a planter that had a water faucet coming out of it. And so the bigger kids used to be able to stand on that bar. There was a beam, it was about like this round, and they would sit there and like balance on it like that. And I was like, that's so cool. So one day I was down there all by myself and I tried it, and then whoop, right over and smashed my head right on that water fountain. And then I got up and like walked up that steep hill, and like all the kids in the neighborhood, back in the 80s, kids used to play outside. They like came and they saw me coming. I was just holding my hand, blood streaming down my face. My mom tells me that she like came outside because she heard crying or whatever. She came outside and looked, walking down the street was like me, blood pouring down, and like 50 kids just following me, like just so curious, like, ooh. No one tried to, I mean, they didn't like help or anything. They were just like walking home with me because it was morbid curiosity. And yeah, that's it.
Well, I gotta tell you, that explains a lot. So.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, concussion boy.
You should.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Good catch. You could see it, Ashley. You thought it was a wrinkle?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry.
I knew what it was, honestly, because wrestlers, they used to do that. They would cut their, like they call it blading.
Oh, with like
so
razors.
when they want to bleed, they take razors and they cut their heads. And so a lot of, if you look at old time wrestlers like Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, those guys, some of them can take quarters and like roll them in their scar tissue because they've cut themselves so much. It's pretty gross.
Why? I don't get it.
So what they do when they like when they have steel cage matches and stuff and they start bleeding, that's real blood. They have razor blades that they'll hide in their tape, and then they'll cut themselves to bleed. And so
they do a fake stunt and then cut themselves so it looks like it was a real stunt.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right.
Sometimes they call it getting busted open the hard way. They'll have someone actually hit them in a way that it comes, like they'll punch down on them like that, so it'll cut it open. But it doesn't look as good as it does. You can just poke a hole like this and it'll clear back up. You won't have to stitches or nothing.
Not like the wrestling match you and I watched where the guy got hit in the head with a chair and it like blood was like split open his head.
No, not like that.
That was real.
That was real, yeah.
All right. Well, we've been recording. We're ready?
Yeah.
I don't like how close I am. She's all like, woo! All right. Welcome to Saints on Cinema. I am Tim Wild, and with me tonight is Josh Edlow. And
hello.
we don't interrupt me when I'm introing until I introduce you, which I did. Never mind. All right. Anyway, we are on episode 101. And we are here just to give a really quick update on what's going on with the channel and just tell you how excited we are that we got through that big milestone. There was a lot of work by myself in putting together a bunch of episodes and editing a bunch of episodes and getting criticism by Josh about a bunch of episodes. But I got it all done, and I am proud of my accomplishment of 101 posted episodes on YouTube. And
let me just say,
episodes. Go ahead.
Let me just say 101 posted episodes. We could have reached this about 25 episodes ago. So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there's many unrevealed episodes that have not yet been published, republished, unpublished, published, distributed.
This is
And
all part of that whole like system of the things are going to be a lot tighter that we talked about. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're here to say that, I don't know, you may see some of those old episodes, but we're here with episode 101, and we just wanted to say, once again, thank you. We gave a little episode thanking everyone for everything all the support and everything. We've had a lot of people reach out outside of the YouTube comments and Facebook threads and everything. A lot of people are really supportive of what we've been doing, and we are just excited about this next step and setting some goals, including getting to 1,000 subscribers and getting monetized, all that fun stuff to kind of keep my Netflix subscriptions updated and stuff. So we can keep watching things to talk about. But we just want to talk about our future format, how it's going to work going forward, and most importantly, officially welcoming to our Saints on Cinema crew, Ashley. And Ashley Preston Bowden has been on several episodes. We've loved her involvement. We loved her excitement and her being so thrilled to be with us. She's a lovely person and knows a lot about movies. And a lot of times she agrees with me on stuff. So I like having her here.
I can't remember. I can't think of a single time she's agreed with you on anything. But anyway.
I'll edit it so she did. I'll fix something. Anyway, but we're going to welcome Ashley, and between the three of us, our plan going forward is that every, hopefully, whatever, I'm going to tell you what day we're going to try to record, but we're going to record at the early part of every day, every week. And hopefully between the three of us, we'll have availability to cut together an episode, and I will edit it and have something out each week. And that's our goal, is to have at least an episode every week. And the episodes, Josh isn't a huge fan of this, but embracing the Saints on Cinema theme that we have, is the church theme that we've been going with. Every episode is going to be a chapter. So it's going to say chapter, starting chapter 101 up at the top. And so you'll be able to follow, because we haven't
I don't think we ever talked about this. But anyway.
We did a long time ago, and I liked it.
It might have been a part where I wasn't listening. That happens a lot.
Well, that happens a lot.
I'm just grateful that we have Ashley here to help us with that coveted 18 to 45 male demographic.
That's not what it was, Josh. We're exposing everything. No, we loved Ashley being on here. We're going to go forward having a lot more guests. We've reached out to a lot of people that have expressed a lot of excitement in coming on and talking about movies. They're all just like kind of apprehensive, trying to pick out what they want to talk about and what they want to come in on, what kind of a feature or what movie, or they're going to wait until a new movie's coming out that's a little more related, that's when they're going to come in and do their thing. So we have a lot of plans for a lot more visitors that we think will be a lot of fun. Also, we've kind of thread out a few contacts. We might get some more professionals in the filmmaking industry, as well as creative people, professionals in other things, movie reviews or editing, music. I mean, there's a lot of ideas that we all have on people that we can network with and get into the show. And a lot of them have already been talked to, and some of them have reached out to us. So we have a plan for down the road getting a lot more variety of people in here besides just our friends. But we love talking about movies with our friends. That's how this show happened, is Josh, who's kind of my friend, and I talked about Rocky. And there we go. We just finished a very long discussion. Now we never have to talk about Rocky again after that episode.
We talked a lot about Rocky. I feel like we put them to bed.
Anyway, so we've decided to embrace this, what is it called? This podcast format. I think that's kind of where we've kind of honed with all the modifying and tweaking we've done over the last couple of years, that we've kind of established that really what we do is we get on and do a long discussion, and then I can clip out different parts that turn into features, as opposed to trying to put together a specific episode that is just a feature. That's a lot more work and a lot less interest some people have for different features. So we're going to do a podcast, about an hour episode-ish, sometimes 5 hours, right, Josh? And every week, and then if there's a movie review we talk about, or a specific list we talk about, or a Revelations episode, conversation, if there's a trailer we really want to talk about, I will cut those out separately and post those, as I've done a couple in the past to test, as the SoC footnotes. So the footnotes of each episode are going to be individual videos. If you're like, I wonder what they thought about the new Cobra Kai trailer, then there'll be a footnote episode that they can just watch that part of our hour conversation. If you watch our hour conversation, you'll get all the footnotes, so you don't have to follow them. There's no cross-referencing needed, which
This
would be a little
sounds
bit-
this sounds incredibly complicated.
It's really not. You watch our podcast each week, you get everything. That's all you got to do. If not, hey, here's a specific conversation we had that you might be interested in. Anyway, that's what we're going to have going forward. Each episode, we're going to start with our personal study. Personal study is where we say, hey, what have you been watching lately? And Josh will say, I've been watching Cheers and wrestling. And I'll say, well, you're boring. That's all you ever watch. He says, I know. What have you been watching? And I'll say, Superman and Star Wars. He says, well, you're just as boring. And I'll say, yes. That'll be every week coming forward. So be excited about that. Ashley may have
Subscribe.
subscribe. Anyway, so personal study, we're going to talk about, and that may lead into some conversations and memories and like our interactions that we have all the time off camera. And then after that, we'll break down into whatever revelations or lists, and we'll announce top 7 lists going forward. We want to at least have one every month that we want to plan on. And yeah, discussions of regular things. Also future confessionals. Confessionals are what movies that we haven't seen, something that we really should have seen. And Josh and I've already kind of done a couple of these. We just didn't do a video about it. And then
I'm ashamed.
one of my favorites is
I'm ashamed that I'd never seen Breakfast Club.
Yes. And there are movies that
I know, Ashley. I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's why they're sins of omissions. That's our that's what we call those. But our confessions we talk about today, we're going to talk about a movie I've not seen and talk about, and then everyone else in the group can harass me for it and everything. So we look forward to those, and I think all of us will have a lot of things on there. These are movies we should have seen. How have we gotten this far in life and not seen it? Like The Breakfast Club, coming out of the 90s or the 80s, Josh. And then we're gonna rectify that, repent, watch it, and then discuss it. Those will be fun. And then Redeeming the Dead, like I mentioned, those are movies that are either bad movies that we like and we want to praise it, or movies that people have forgotten about, and we want to redeem those movies and bring them back and talk about classic movies, and not just classic, but movies that we like that don't get discussed a lot. Okay, anyway, that's the new format going forward. Does anyone else have any thoughts?
I think
Okay.
we could have just not explained all that, but okay.
People need to know, Josh.
Got it. Okay.
That's
the
what this
format.
announcement episode is all about, the flow going forward. If you're like, we're going to do another top 7 list, we'll say we got to watch the episodes or wait for the footnotes. It's very simple, very simple. Everything seems overwhelming for Josh because he's a lawyer and he has to like just file and fix everything in his brain and organize it all and come up with counter arguments on why something I say is stupid at all times. That's all he thinks about. Anyway, that is our announcements. That's what our episode was about today. So what we were going to do is just ask each person, what are you guys watching? Which is our personal study. So Josh, how about you? What have you been watching lately?
All right. So here's the thing. I have to say, if we're going to talk about confessionals, I have a confession, and that is that I love trashy reality TV. And I have been, over the course of COVID, immersed in it. So I have seen just about every season of Married at First Sight, all of the regular seasons of 90 Day Fiance, a season of Before the 90 Days, which is a spinoff of 90 Day Fiance, where instead of when they're coming over to get married, it's when they go to first meet the person that they've been wooing online internationally, which is by far my favorite so far, an absolute train wreck, and I love it. And I just finished the first season of a show which made no sense at all, called 7 Year Switch. Have you guys heard of this?
I've
What is
heard of
that?
it. I haven't watched it.
Okay, so I think anybody who's into this has heard of Married at First Sight. It's basic what that is about. And then 90 Day Fiance is the one that it's international dating and marrying. 7 Year Switch are marriages that are having troubles. And so one of the therapists from Married at First Sight started this show where they take couples who are having problems. It's based on the idea of the 7-year itch, right? Where like they're having troubles and they're 7 year, but they're not all been married 7 years. But anyway, they've all been together and they're having some sort of problem. And it's usually couples where like the husband and wife, for whatever reason, like they're complete opposites, or they're people who've had a problem with, you know, infidelity or like different things like that. And then they switch them with the other couples. So one wife will have an experimental husband, and then the husband will go and have an experimental wife, and they'll live apart for 2 weeks, and then they come back and they decide whether they want to stay married, or if the experiment they realize what they were missing. And the idea is like they go to this place where they go and they find this person who they think has the qualities that they're missing from their spouse, but then also kind of doesn't have the qualities that they love in their spouse, to kind of make them feel like, anyway, the whole time I'm watching it, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't understand how this is helping anything at all. And
I was gonna say, speaking as a divorced man, I'm a little familiar with this formula. Like I said, this show's a bad idea.
so the thing is, yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like married at first sight, I understand the premise and where they would think it could
Right.
work, right? And like 90 Day Fiance, that's just pure, like, you're just watching train wrecks happen. This one is like, this one, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, do these therapists really, like, I thought they're supposed to do no harm, because I feel like this is doing harm. Like it was really bad. And there's only 2 seasons of it, obviously, because I think by the second season they realized, okay, this doesn't help anything at all. And
They're just setting people up for failure for drama's sake, right?
well, and
Well,
the
like
thing
there
is,
was that show back in the 90s, like wife swap, which is like
Right.
sounds like the same idea, but like you typically they're like opposite wives. So like one wife was like way over, you
Like
know, buried
lenient,
in the
you're just conservative.
Yeah, and then they would switch, and then it was hopefully that they would pull from, you know, what they learned from their
They
experiences
miss
to
their
help balance out.
families and appreciate their lifestyles and all that stuff. I like that
Right.
show. I remember watching some.
so this was, yeah, this is kind of similar to that, but the thing is it was just, I don't know, it just seemed like, well, 2 weeks is not long enough, I feel. Like the whole time, the 2 people, like, so they had 4 couples, so there were 2 switch, and they don't know that they're switching with each other's, they didn't know that they were switching with each other's thing. So like the husband came in and didn't know that this person's husband was going to be with his wife. Like they didn't understand that was what
Is
was
there,
That-
no, that's a thing though. Is it?
I don't
It's not
know.
like, no, I know what you're saying. It's not like any of these people like had romantic feelings for their new experimental spouse. It was like, it basically seemed like a husband and a wife who were having problems came together, became friends, lived with each other for 2 weeks, and complained about all the things that their spouses were doing, and trying to get the other sex's like perspective on it. But like the whole first week, it seemed like they were just trying to getting to know each other, because they're just like randomly staying with this person. Like they show up to the place and there's one bed for them to sleep in, and they have to figure that out. And like, you know, and so meanwhile, they're trying to work on their own marriages with a counselor, but with another person's spouse. It was like, it was just so wacky. And then by the time they came back, like none of the problems had been solved, like at all. It just seemed like, I was like, what is the point of this?
Is there, this will sound bad, but are these like attractive people, or are these like just normal people?
I mean, they were
I'm
all
serious. It's not like The
Yeah,
Bachelor's
no,
looking people.
no. It's not like everybody on there was a supermodel. But they were generally like, they weren't unattractive people.
Right, right.
They were just normal people
Got
you meet on the street. And that's what I like about Married at First Sight too, is these people that get married, they're not all like supermodels. They're just generally regular people that end up getting married. But anyway, so that was terrible. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. It was
But you
bad.
watched 2 seasons, you said?
I watched 1 season of that, and then at the end, I was like, this is terrible. And so anyway, now I'm rewatching Roseanne on Amazon.
Hang on. Before we move to Roseanne, you're the same guy that couldn't finish the first Lord of the Rings movie because it was boring. You watched an entire series of that?
It wouldn't
Yeah.
be boring.
It wasn't
It's
boring.
Weird.
It was weird. Yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
exactly what it was. It was
Fair enough.
weird. See,
Like
this-
watching a train wreck, you said.
Yes, that's the thing. The other shows, no, to my dying day, I would recommend Married at First Sight and 90 Day Fiance to anybody, because it is just absolute dreadful fun. Like,
All right. So Roseanne, you're starting from season 1, moving through Roseanne.
Yeah, I watched it when I was a kid and with my family, and it really reminded me a lot of my family growing up a little bit. Like, a mother and a father who are working really hard to provide for their kids, but can never really, they're just blue collar workers. They're never going to be rich, but they're going to do everything they can to provide for their kids and dealing with real world issues from the 80s and 90s, right? And so rewatching it, it was actually really fun. And you can tell, it's interesting. I can tell that it has generational value because when I put it on and they hear the harmonica at the beginning, my daughters will come and sit and watch it. They want to watch it when it comes on. So, it's it's and the thing that's great about it, and I never really thought about this when I was a kid, but like Roseanne and Dan Connor have an incredibly strong bond and relationship, even throughout all of that. And it's really amazing to see. I'm only, I forgot how many episodes there were in old TV shows, like seasons. It was like 23 a season. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I'm just now
They were
getting,
shorter, though.
what's that?
Like they were shorter though. Like they're really just 20 minutes, where like
Yeah.
episodes now seem to be like an hour.
Yeah. So it's but anyway, it's been good. I'm almost through season 1. So
yeah, we talked about Roseanne last year when I remember when I ran into it, started watching it from the beginning. I never really watched it, and I was just telling you how blown away I was by a lot of the stories and a lot of the characters and how it was like a real family. And I realized that the reason I didn't like watching it as a kid was because I was always afraid of Dan, because as a kid, my parents were divorced when I was really little. I didn't grow up with a male figure in the house, and so and that family is so real. When there's fighting and yelling, there's like real yelling, and there's slamming things, and there's breaking things, and it's like not like a violence against the other characters, but for a kid that's not exposed to that, even though my mom screamed at me plenty, and threw things and slammed things and spanked me, whatever. But that coming from a big giant man like Dan Connor was horrifying to me. So like it was very unnerving. But watching it now as an adult, I love everything the issues that they go into and the family dynamics that they go into and the realism, especially Darlene's depression, like in season 3 or whatever. It's brilliant how they do it. But anyway, anything else you're watching that you want to confess that you're just lame and wasting your time away?
No, that's pretty much all I waste my time with. I mean, there's not a lot
of hours into those shows.
Yeah. Well, and there's not a lot of new stuff coming out,
No.
So at least nothing consequence, unless I want to watch another Adam Sandler debacle,
No. I don't watch any of those. When they see them on Netflix, I'm like, I don't even want to watch any of them. How about you, Ashley? What are you watching?
Okay, so always Great British Bake Off is like my staple for like feeling
Really?
happy.
You're one of those guys?
Yeah.
Girls?
What?
I said you're one of those guys, but girls. I'm just,
I am a girl. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I do. I like baking though, and so like I usually like bake the recipes. But I've been watching Cobra Kai. I started binge watching it. I know.
You just started?
Yeah, I never watched it. Well,
watched
okay, so when it came out on YouTube, I like watched the first 3 episodes, and then I just never continued. And so
Why do we
Speaking of confessionals.
Yeah, why do we?
I know. I like confessional. So there it is. But yeah, so like I started binge watching it. I'm on like season 2, episode 8 or something.
Oh, you're at the end almost.
Yeah. So I'm almost done.
We'll definitely want to hear your fresh take on from 2 years ago. Fresh take on.
Okay, so wait, so episode 8, was it episode 6 or 7 that they did the Cobra Kai reunion?
Oh, that was 6.
That was like 5 or 6. That was earlier.
Yeah, season 2. That was sad.
Tommy's dead. Ugh, that's rough.
Yeah.
So my favorite episode that season is episode 9. So
okay,
yeah,
I'm not there yet.
Think about that.
Just shut up.
I'll tell you. We'll have a conversation.
We will. Let's talk about Ashley's feelings about Cobra Kai next. Or next sometime.
Okay, yeah. And then I watched a movie that I never even heard of, but it's about Matt Hamill, who was a UFC fighter, but he was an NCAA wrestling champion. And that was actually really cool because he was deaf. And so it was about how he was able to about his like childhood and everything. So that was really cool. It's called The Hammer. I recommend it. It's pretty cool.
I've saw
And
that.
then
Is that on Netflix?
no,
What's it on?
it's I had to order it. So
Oh.
I got a physical copy on Amazon. But it was really good. Like I really liked it.
Him as a fighter too. When
Yeah, I loved him as a fighter. Sorry, I got like really excited. So yeah, so
sorry, before you go on, he was on the Ultimate Fighter, wasn't he? Was he on
yeah, season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he couldn't continue on because he got an injury. But Dana White was like really impressed because like Dana White didn't really want him on there because he didn't know if his deafness was going to be really like impactful into the whole thing, because like you can't listen to your coach yelling out anything or anything. So he just didn't know. But his show and during the Ultimate Fighter, like was like, okay, come on, like let's see what you got. And he brought him on and he did really good.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty cool. And like watching his training and everything. And
he had a good career too, considering.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did really good job. Like he won 13 out of 20. So it's not bad. It's pretty good. And but yeah, so what?
Tim is enthralled, I can tell.
I'm just like,
Tim, it's awesome.
I'm sure.
So like, I mean, the movie wasn't about the UFC part. Like it was all about his childhood and growing up, because like his grandpa refused to teach him sign language or anything. He's like, no, you're gonna be just like any other kid. And so he forced him to learn how to read lips and speak English. And just like the struggle that would be, that was for him. And then he didn't really do sign language until college. And it was really good. It was really awesome. But I really liked it. And then I just barely got a Children of a Lesser God that I've always wanted to see, but I haven't seen it yet. Because so I'm hopefully watching that. But then Children of a Lesser God. So it's a movie about, it was the first. Okay, so Marlee Matlin is the actress. She won Best Actress for that movie. She was the first actress who was deaf to win an Academy Award. But yeah, so the whole thing was that it's about a love story between a hearing man and a deaf woman. And so like, I've wanted to see, because like I've always wanted to be able to watch every movie that like a woman won Best Actress for, yay women. So but yeah, so like yay. So like I wanted to watch it and I just never got around to it. And then it got brought up recently and I was like, oh, I just need to order it. And so I did. So that's like next on my docket to watch.
So what prompted the deaf kick?
What prompted the deaf kick?
Yeah.
Because I am going to school to become a sign language interpreter.
I just wanted to give you the opportunity to tell everybody what you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear it. Actually, say that again. What are you doing?
I'm going to school to become a sign language interpreter.
Oh, I was trying to figure this out. It's like, what are we doing? That's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like I've always been interested in it, deaf culture, but I haven't been like really involved. So
I was watching a interview, or not a presentation by Kevin Smith last week, and I can't remember what it was. I watched a lot of Kevin Smith, and he was on stage doing his normal, perverted, grotesque, just funny, his thing, the things that he talks about. And there was on the stage with him a signer to talk to deaf people, and he would just say something and stop and look how they interpreted his. The things that he was saying. It was hilarious, but that was, and he would just stop, and eventually her shift was over and they switched it, and he thought he like got her so flustered that she had to have someone else take over. It was hilarious though. She just spent a lot of time with him just saying things just to make her sign it, and then he was asking if that's what the signing was. It was funny. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. It was great.
Good time.
Yeah. Anything else?
I can't remember. I'm lots of like a lot of nostalgia movies, like movies I grew up as a kid. That's
cool.
Kind of like,
Nothing noteworthy. Cool.
Not really.
Right. Well, I just want to mention I watched finishing the Halloween season. I mean, I watched a lot of things, and I talked about them on my Facebook page and whatever. But I watched the Bram Stoker's Dracula. Josh, did you see that?
Yeah.
You did?
What year was
Back in
that?
the 90s, right?
Yeah, it was 90 something. That's
Okay.
the one that had Keanu Reeves and Gary Oldman playing Dracula. It also had Anthony Hopkins. And I was like, and of course Winona Ryder. And I was just like, I forgot that both of them, Anthony Hopkins and whatever I just said.
Winona Ryder.
No, the other one. The two great actors. Oh, Oldman. No, Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins were both in this movie together. I was like, they're like the greatest actors. I feel there's
they are.
two of the top 4 or 5 greatest actors living today, with Dustin Hoffman in there too. But I was like, this movie is so visual, it's so beautiful and creative, and it's just ridiculous trying to follow the plot, honestly. And I'm bad with plot, we know that, but I was just trying to figure out, if you didn't already know the story, like actually from the book, and I was watching with a friend who's very familiar with the book, together we were trying to piece together how the scenes connect into what was actually going on, because it's very abstract but artistic and beautiful. A lot of props to that movie, but
I remember like that movie came out with a lot of fanfare in the 90s. Like a lot of people were really excited about it because of that exact reason. Like Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman playing Dracula, like it was going to be really cool.
Amazing.
I remember seeing it and then not being very impressed with it.
Well, I remember seeing it as a little kid, and there's a lot of adult things that happened in it, and I was like, whoa. It was very graphic.
Just randomly, another one that was that I was surprised. I don't know why I was expecting it to be more than it was. A lot of people liked it, but Interview with the Vampire. Like I remember seeing that, and I was like not super impressed with it. I remember thinking like this is gonna be really cool, and then it really wasn't, except for that Guns N' Roses version of Sympathy for the Devil at the end.
Never saw it. I know everyone was like freaking out about it because of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, right? Tom Cruise was in it.
Yeah.
And the kid that played Elliot, I think, was in it from E.T. But anyway, I know all the girls in my high school were like raving over it because all the hot guys at the time were all in this movie. But yeah, maybe that's why I didn't.
Kind of considered the hot guys, right? It's like Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt. Nothing's changed. It's the same.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was my Halloween season. That was like one of my big things. But I also watched. I've been watching Scrubs with my kids. They're going through it. They love when I have them when they come over because my boys watch Scrubs. My daughter's doesn't really like it for some reason. She said it rubbed her the wrong way when I let them watch the pilot. I don't know what that means. But I think she just doesn't want to watch it. But the boys, every time they come over, can we watch Scrubs? Let's get some Scrubs. And they're loving it. And I love, love, love Scrubs. It's all heart. That's the thing. Like every episode, we're laughing throughout it. But I'm like, every episode, I'm like, it's not just JD stuff. Mostly it's Dr. Cox, was my favorite characters of all time. But it's so emotional. And he really is the heart of that show. And if you watch it, like his expressions and between the lines and just who his character really is, it's all about people. Even JD and the other doctors, but it's just so touching to watch it and to laugh hysterically, and I get emotional and cry in some episodes, and the kids make fun of me for that. But like whatever, I just love that show. We're only on season 2, but so whenever I have them, we watch a few episodes. But I've been doing that, catching up on some Night Court. I have a couple seasons of Night Court on DVD, and at work I'm able to play Night Court in the restaurant sometimes when it's on regular television because it's not streaming anywhere. It's hard to catch Night Court. Were you guys Night Court fans?
Yeah.
No, Ashley, or you never saw it?
I don't know what it is. I have no idea what that is.
You never saw Night Court?
No.
We will.
Wait.
I watched Night Court it was like on when like the Cosby Show was on back in the 80s. Like that's when 80s and early, well then the 90s, early 90s is when it was on too. Great show. We'll talk about Night Court someday when it's streaming somewhere and we can watch it and do some talking.
On that same topic, so another show, just and again randomly interrupting what your stream of consciousness. Drew Carey show is nowhere. Hey, do you guys remember the Drew Carey show?
It used to come on right before Whose Line Is It?
That show was fantastic, and it's not anywhere, and you can't get them on DVD unless it's like I've looked it up and I can't get them.
Neither
Yeah,
Night Court. Night Court's only got a few seasons on DVD. They didn't do all of them.
They have like a few episode things for Drew Carey, but they don't have the whole series. I'm really surprised because that was a really good show. Mimi was
It was
hilarious.
popular too.
It was.
And again,
I mean, Whose Line would have never happened if it wasn't for the fact that Drew Carey and Ryan Stiles were on the Drew Carey show.
Yeah.
And
it came on right before because my brother would watch. I didn't care about Drew Carey show, but they would watch that and then with my mom. And as soon as that was over, Whose Line came on, and then I would come in and watch it with them.
Yeah. Whose Line is still on?
Most of Whose Line is on Hulu or something right now. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, Drew Carey does not fill Bob Barker's shoes.
No.
Drew Carey's not a great actor, and he can't hold a straight face worth crap, especially in Whose Line. He's funny. I think he's a charismatic guy. He is charming. And that's why I think he's down there. But no, he's not. No.
No, but you know what though? That was part of the charm of the Drew Carey show and Whose Line was him cracking up at their jokes.
Yeah, for sure. They have other hosts. It's on now. There's the new Whose Line is it anyway? Going right now, and it's a different actress or different host. It's not the same.
Tyler I watch it all the time, and it's still okay. It's still got Wayne Brady, Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery, and all those.
Was Wayne on there?
Yeah,
I didn't think Wayne was on there.
Yeah, he's on it. And it's without Drew Carey, it's just not the same. Drew Carey was really funny.
Yeah.
He's one of those people too that like as soon as he lost all his weight, he lost all his charm too. He's like he's all skinny now. He's not quite. He was just like it was part of his gig was being like the fat Dilbert looking guy.
Yeah. That's how I kind of felt about you as well. I mean, as soon as you start working out and losing your weight, you just lost your charm. Like you're just kind of a jerk to have around now. You used to be funny and quirky on Facebook. Now you're just like, look at me in the gym, grinding it out. Anyway, all right. This last thing, this is an interesting discovery.
I look good.
Yeah. So does Drew Carey. That's not what the comment was. All right. This is interesting. Were you guys big TGIF fans? This is the last thing I want to say that I've been watching. I noticed something interesting. TGIF.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember it.
So
okay, after you're done with this, I have a question about that, but go ahead.
Okay. It stands for Thank Goodness It's Friday.
Right. I know that. That's not my question.
Not really thank goodness, but Anyway, So I've been watching Perfect Strangers for the last 5 months. Perfect Strangers is so funny. And it's so cheap. It's such a cheap, there's like 4 people in the cast. And there's like 1 or 2 sets in the apartment and the store, whatever, just the first few seasons. And just like any show, it grows. But like, they are hilarious, and I don't know their names. The dude that plays Balky, with that thick accent, is hilarious. He's been in some other shows, especially Blame It on Bellwick, fantastic movie. And the dude that plays Larry, whose other great movie was Noises Off.
Who's in Larry Appleton? Yep.
Yeah. But he's like, they're so funny. But I noticed I got to season 3. Yeah, I'm on season 3 at the very beginning of it. Larry gets the job. They both get a job in this new newspaper. And all of a sudden, the first episode in there's an elevator woman that steps off and she controls the elevator in the show, in the office they work in. And she comes out and introduces herself as Harriet Winslow. Now, the show takes place in Chicago. And that got me thinking, like, wait a minute. And it's the same actress that plays Harriet Winslow from Family Matters. And I was like, wait a minute, worlds colliding here. The creator of the show is, I think it's Robert Boyette, I think, is a creator of Perfect Strangers. He was also a producer on Full House. Full House is also in the Family Matters universe because Steve Urkel appeared in like season 6 or whatever of Full House. And not only that, which was Chicago. And in that episode, they were on he was working with, her cousin. And that one, in the Full House episode, Steve Urkel was visiting their cousin or his cousin or something in San Francisco where Full House takes place. So you have Perfect Strangers and Family Matters in Chicago, and then Full House in San Francisco. But then TGIF launched Step by Step. And in the first season of Step by Step, Steve Urkel appears there. And they're like in Wisconsin or something, I think, if I remember right. So I'm like, there is a whole little TGIF universe, and it's not just Steve Urkel, because back in those years, I looked him up, if they wanted to kick off a show, because Steve Urkel was so huge in the mid 90s, you threw Steve in there. If Steve Urkel made a cameo in it was season 1 of Step by Step, then you already grabbed an audience. But I started putting it together. The Perfect Stranger season 3 came out in 1988. The first season of Full House was 1987. So Perfect Strangers started, then Full House started, then Family Matters came out in 89. Step by Step came out in 91. So every couple of years, there was a new family in this genre, the TGI, I'm going to call it TGIF genre. There was a very specific formula. And Steve was a connection in all of them in 1991.
So where does dinosaurs fit into the genre?
Yeah.
Well, Steve Urkel or Earl Winslow is the dinosaur Oh no, Eddie the son. That's like Steve or Eddie. Oh, Eddie's the son, right? I think Eddie the dinosaur and Eddie Winslow. There's your connection.
No.
A billion years ago, Eddie Winslow's great grandfather, he was a dinosaur, and
Right,
that's why the top hat.
So here was my question I was going to ask.
It was Eddie,
Out of
right?
all the TGIF shows, which one was your favorite?
Full House. Oh,
Really?
hands down. Oh yeah.
What about you,
Dude,
Ashley?
absolutely.
What was your favorite?
Dude, who's my idol?
I
John
like Family
Stewart.
Matters more than Full House.
You like Family
Really?
Matters?
I did. I
See,
really
I-
liked that.
They had too many characters they didn't do anything with, because once Steve Urkel got on the show, it was all about him, which is fine. Steve Urkel's great, but until he got a little older. Seasons 2 and 3 and 4 of Family Matters are the strongest because it's him young in high school, and
Yeah.
it's great. But all the sisters and stuff with Rachel and everything, like they didn't have anything to do with them, and they were just like baggage for the stories.
I didn't like when they did the whole Stefan thing with
Yeah, and
Steve
then they went further, and that was that's now parting to
It was fine.
to Steve.
But I just have to say that Perfect Strangers is my favorite TGIF show. I just love Balki Bartokomous and like all that stuff he does. I mean, it's just hilarious. I didn't like it. See, and this is what I think all the TGIF shows kind of did this, except for Full House. They didn't really do this, but like when they do a big change of scenery, like at some point in Perfect Strangers, they end up like buying a house and moving into this big house. And then they have the 2 girlfriends that move in and all 4 of them. And it just gets ridiculous at that point. It was like when they were in the apartment, when they were working in the old used furniture store. And then when they finally, yeah. And then they got the job at the paper. That was good. And then it just kind of fell off the last couple seasons, but
I've never watched it all the way through, so I'm like excited. I'm enjoying each episode. My favorite stuff though was the first couple of seasons where Larry was introducing Balki to some concept like a bank or whatever, or investing.
the one where he was teaching him about checks, and he like bought a light bulb and a couple of things and thought he was like so cool, and then realized he had to balance his checkbook. Yeah. Or the one where he drove. That one was when he was learning how to drive. That was.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, that one's a good one too. Yeah, I love that show.
It's fun,
There's another good one who you'll come up on. It's one of my favorites. Is when he takes Balki to go play golf, or no, they're going to go play golf with his girlfriend's dad. And Larry is constantly like he'll lie about everything and then try to like get out of it later on. And this is one where he's not lying. He's actually really good at golf. And it's pretty funny. You'll see it. It's good.
I'll get there.
So,
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I like it. I love Full House. I've been watching a bunch of those episodes. Family Matters. I was watching Family Matters with my son a couple like last year as well. Step by Step. There's some funny stuff with Cody, but I never really got into those characters. Mostly Patrick Duffy. Didn't really like him. Anyway, that's what I've been watching.
So similar genre, but not really TGIF. Was Saved by the Bell was another one that I loved.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
However, okay, do you guys remember when all that one like year where all of a sudden like shoot,
Everyone went to college.
like Lisa was gone? No, it was before that. Lisa was gone, and like the other girl there, like she wore like the leather jacket. I can't remember her name.
Oh yeah.
And then like she disappeared, and everyone came back. So like there was like that weird. I never was able to figure out because I didn't watch them like in order. I watched them just
started,
beyond.
when they started, I think they weren't they all in like a middle school, and they had the girlfriend,
Yeah, they were young.
the teacher, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden they got to high school, and then that's when Kelly and like
Jesse and
Janos and all them and AC Slater all came in.
yeah,
And
I remember the episode where AC moved in. But like it's like this weird, like they were all like seniors. And then there was like this time where like, was it Jesse was gone or something? And then this other girl came in. And then
that around the
that
time
all like
Jesse was
disappeared and
gone.
everyone came back and they graduated with the original cast. So it was like, I don't understand where that was. But
So was
again,
that around that time when Jesse went to shoot Showgirls?
worst movie ever.
He ruined her career.
I know. That's sad.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen went on to do 90210 and some other a lot of racy things, but
She was in 90210?
She
Yeah,
was just for
she
a
went
little
on-
bit, but she wasn't one of the original cast.
no, she got in there like season 4 or something like that. She was in there after I stopped watching it. But oh, I was in love with her, but who wasn't? No. Anyway, all right. Ashley wasn't.
Yeah.
I was an Alyssa Milano guy.
Alyssa Milano.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could find Who's the Boss anywhere. I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, Tony
Interesting.
Danza.
Yeah. Anyway, well, if you watched this, hope you enjoyed us talking about what we've been watching. And if you are done watching this, which you will be in a second, then you can go start watching some of those things that we've been watching so you can have some context on what we were saying about what we were watching. That's all how I'm going to end the show. Anyway.
Or you could comment below after you've subscribed and tell us what you're watching, or if you are watching anything we're watching, and tell us how great we are for watching the same thing you're watching. No one's watching what Tim's watching because nobody watches Night Court.
No one's
You can't watch Night Court. But if you remember Night Court and you wish that you were watching what I'm watching, then comment below and tell us what you remember watching what I watched back in the 80s and 90s, and then what Ashley should have been watching when she was watching something else.
Yes, and the only person that's going to do that is Tim as a fake YouTube account.
no trash on me.
Yeah. Challenge
Okay.
accepted. Anyway, if you've been watching this, thanks for watching, and we love the support and everything. Like, subscribe, share, whatever. There's not a lot of excitement in this episode, but we just want to do a little catch up and a thank you, and just announce that Ashley is officially on Saints on Cinema. So
Yay.
thanks, Ashley, for being with us and moving
Welcome.
forward in this journey. And we look forward to a lot of fun times and a lot of discussions about movies that I agree with you on against Josh, and we're right. It's one of the worst sentences I've ever constructed. But anyway, thanks for watching Saints on Cinema. We'll catch you next time.